Your childhood home is gone. Amanda's voice dripped with satisfaction through my phone speaker. I bought it at the auction for pennies. You have until Friday to get your stuff out. She paused, clearly waiting for my reaction, expecting tears or begging. I stood in my office, staring at the old photo of my parents and me on the porch of our Victorian house, the one Amanda had just claimed as her latest victory. Thanks for letting me know, I said calmly, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. That's it. She pressed, clearly disappointed by my lack of emotional response. No crying? No begging. This house has been in your family for generations, and now it's mine. She laughed, a sound grating against my ears. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 32, I was listening to my sister-in-law gloat about stealing my family home through a county auction she orchestrated behind my back. The same house where I'd grown up, where my parents have lived until their accident last year, and where every wall held memories I couldn't replace. You know what's funny? Amanda continued, her voice sticky sweet with fake concern. If you hadn't been so busy with your research work in Boston, you might have noticed the auction notice. But I guess your precious career was more important than your family home. I gripped my desk harder, remembering the research grant that had kept me away for the past 6 months. I'd been developing new treatments for rare genetic disorders, work that could save lives. Amanda had always dismissed it as me playing scientist, while she focused on what she considered real success: marrying my brother Michael and systematically taking control of our family's assets. The house needs someone who'll actually be there, she added. Someone who appreciates it, not someone who abandons it for months at a time. I thought about the property taxes I paid, the maintenance I'd arranged from Boston, the careful plans I'd made to preserve my family home while pursuing my research. I appreciate your concern, Amanda, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Is there anything else? She paused, probably thrown by my continued calm. Well, yes, actually, Michael and I are planning to renovate. Your parents' old furniture will have to go. I'll have it donated by the weekend. My parents' antiques, the furniture that had been passed down through generations. Each piece had a story, a memory attached to it. But Amanda didn't know about the documentation I'd been gathering, the quiet moves I'd been making ever since I noticed money disappearing from the property tax account 3 months ago. That's thoughtful of you, I replied. I'm sure the donations will be appreciated. What is wrong with you? Amanda finally snapped, her composure cracking. This is your childhood home. Fight back, cry, do something. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Actually, Amanda, I need to go. I have a meeting with the county records office in 10 minutes. The county records, her voice faltered for the first time. Why? Oh, just some paperwork about the house. You know how it is with old properties, always some historical document to review. Have a great day. I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking as I pulled out the file I'd received from my father's lawyer last week. Inside was a document that Amanda, in her rush to claim her victory, hadn't bothered to find. A document that would turn her perfect plan on its head. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael, my brother. Amanda told me about the house. I'm so sorry, Liv. I had no idea she was planning this. Poor Michael. He'd always been brilliant with numbers, but blind when it came to Amanda's manipulations. She'd swept into his life 5 years ago, all charm and ambition, and he'd fallen hard. By the time they married, she was already working to drive a wedge between us. I texted back, it's okay, just be at the house on Friday. There's something you both need to see. Another call came in, this time from Mrs. Reynolds, our elderly neighbor who'd watched me grow up. Olivia, dear, I just saw Amanda walking around the property, measuring things. She was talking about tearing down your mother's rose garden. I couldn't bear to watch. Don't worry, Mrs. Reynolds, I assured her. The roses aren't going anywhere. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and clicked on the email from the Historical Society, the one confirming what I'd suspected when I started digging into the house's history. Amanda might have bought the house at auction, but she hadn't bothered to check the property's historical designation or the special conditions attached to its deed. My father, always careful, always planning ahead, had made sure our home was protected. The historical designation he'd secured meant any changes, from renovation to furniture removal, had to be approved by the Historical Society's board, a board I'd been quietly working with for the past 3 months. My phone buzzed again. Amanda. By the way, I'm thinking of painting the exterior yellow. That awful blue your mother chose is so dated. I actually laughed out loud at that one. The awful blue was part of the historical color palette, documented and protected. Amanda hadn't just bought a house. She bought a property with more strings attached than a puppet show. Looking at the old photo again, I remember my mother's words from years ago. Sometimes, sweetheart, the best response to someone's cruelty is to let them think they've won. Then show them what victory really costs. Friday couldn't come fast enough. Amanda was about to learn that some victories come with fine print, and this one had my father's signature all over it. I picked up my phone one last time, dialing the Historical Society's number. "Hi, Miss Thompson. Yes, I'll need those original deed documents on Friday. Yes, all of them. Especially the historical designation papers and the renovation restrictions." As I hung up, I couldn't help but smile. Amanda thought she'd won the house, but she had no idea what she actually bought. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back, it's watching someone's perfect plan unravel all by itself. My parents had always taught me to be prepared, to think ahead, to understand that sometimes the quiet moves are the most powerful. As I looked at their photo one last time before heading to my meeting, I whispered, "Don't worry. The house isn't going anywhere. And neither am I." Friday morning arrived with a flurry of texts from Amanda, each one more demanding than the last. "You better have everything out by noon. And I'm bringing contractors to start measuring for renovations." I let each message go unanswered as I drove from the airport to my childhood home. As I pulled up to the Victorian house, my heart tightened at the sight of Amanda standing on the porch, clipboard in hand, talking animatedly to what appeared to be a construction crew. Michael hovered nearby, looking uncomfortable as she gestured wildly about opening up the space and modernizing this outdated mess. Mrs. Reynolds was watching from her porch next door, worry etched on her face. I gave her a reassuring wave as I stepped out of my car. Behind me, another car pulled up, Miss Thompson from the Historical Society, right on time, carrying a thick folder of documents. "What is she doing here?" Amanda's voice cut through the morning air as she spotted Miss Thompson. "This is private property now." I walked up the familiar path, memories flooding back with each step. The creaky third step my dad had never fixed because he said it was our burglar alarm. The porch swing where Mom used to read to me on summer evenings. The intricate woodwork Amanda was currently planning to tear down. "Good morning, Amanda," I said pleasantly. "I see you're already making plans." "These are my contractors," she announced proudly. "We're discussing removing these dated columns and expanding the porch into a modern deck space. Maybe you should say goodbye to it all now, since you'll never see it again." Michael stepped forward, looking pained. "Liv, I'm so sorry about all this. I tried to talk to her, but—" "It's fine, Michael," I interrupted gently. "Actually, I'm glad you're both here. Miss Thompson has some documents you need to see." Amanda rolled her eyes. "Whatever paperwork you have is irrelevant. I bought this house fair and square at auction. It's mine now." Miss Thompson cleared her throat, opening her folder. "Actually, Mrs. Parker, that's not entirely accurate. This property was designated as a historical landmark in 1992 by Mr. James Parker, Olivia's father. Any changes to the property, including but not limited to structural modifications, color schemes, or removal of original fixtures and furniture, must be approved by the Historical Society Board." The color drained from Amanda's face. "What?" I gestured to the contractors. "You might want to hold off on those measurements. Any renovation plans will need to go through an extensive approval process. The Historical Society is quite particular about preserving the original architecture." "This is ridiculous," Amanda sputtered. "I own this house. I can do whatever I want with it." Miss Thompson pulled out another document. "There's more. The historical designation includes specific provisions of the original furnishings, many of which are period pieces that contribute to the home's historical value. They cannot be removed or donated without board approval." I watched as Amanda's perfect plan began to crumble. The contractors exchanged glances and quietly started packing up their equipment. "You knew about this," Amanda accused, turning to me. "You knew and you let me buy it anyway. Just like you knew about the auction and didn't tell me." I countered calmly. "Besides, I tried to call you multiple times last week. You were too busy planning renovations to answer." Michael stepped forward, taking the documents from Miss Thompson. As he read through them, his accountant's mind processing the implications, his expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something close to admiration. The historical designation doesn't just restrict changes, he said slowly. It also requires significant maintenance and preservation costs. Original materials only, specialized contractors. He looked at Amanda. This is going to be expensive. Amanda's face reddened. We can afford it. Can you? I asked quietly, because the Historical Society requires proof of financial capability to maintain the property. They'll need to review your accounts to ensure you can meet the preservation requirements. That hit home. Amanda and Michael had stretched themselves thin buying expensive cars and taking lavish vacations. The auction price had been their last big splash, meant to secure their victory over me. Now it was becoming their anchor. This is your fault. Amanda turned on Michael. You should have checked the deed more carefully. Actually, Miss Thompson interjected, all of this information was available in the county records. Standard due diligence would have revealed these restrictions. I watched as the reality of their situation sank in. They'd bought a house they couldn't afford to maintain, couldn't renovate, and couldn't use as they planned. The victory Amanda had gloated about was turning to ashes in her mouth. There is another option, I said, pulling out one final document. The Historical Society has first right of refusal on any sale. They're willing to buy back the property at auction price to ensure its preservation. You planned this, Amanda accused, her voice shaking. You let us buy it knowing we couldn't afford the restrictions. I shook my head. No, Amanda. I tried to warn you. You were too busy planning my childhood home's destruction to listen. Sometimes victory comes with fine print. Michael took the buyback offer, reading it carefully. This would get us out without losing money, he said quietly. We should take it. Take it? Amanda's voice rose. After everything I did to get this house? Everything you did. Michael's tone changed. What exactly does that mean, Amanda? I watched as Amanda realized her mistake. In her anger, she'd revealed too much. Michael was looking at her with new eyes, seeing perhaps for the first time the manipulation that had been there all along. I think, he said slowly, we need to have a long talk about exactly how you knew about this auction when my sister didn't. Mrs. Reynolds chose that moment to walk over, carrying a plate of her famous cookies. I thought everyone might need a snack, she said cheerfully. Oh, and Amanda dear, I found these interesting letters in my mailbox. Seems they were delivered to me by mistake last month. Auction notices addressed to Olivia. Such a shame they never reached her. Amanda's face went pale. Michael took the letters, his expression hardening as he read them. The Historical Society's offer expires at 5 p.m. today, I said quietly. I suggest you think carefully about your next move. As I watched Amanda's perfect plan dissolve completely, I felt no triumph, no joy in her defeat. Instead, I felt something closer to peace. The house would be saved, its history preserved, and maybe, just maybe, my brother would finally see the truth he'd been avoiding for so long. Miss Thompson smiled at me. Shall we go inside and discuss the preservation plans? The Society is quite interested in your ideas for maintaining your family's legacy. As we walked into the house, leaving Amanda and Michael to their reckoning on the porch, I touched the familiar wooden doorframe, smooth from generations of hands. Some victories aren't about winning at all. They're about protecting what matters, even if you have to lose it first to save it. 3 months after the auction debacle, I sat on the porch swing of my childhood home, watching the autumn leaves dance across the lawn. The Historical Society had expedited the buyback process, and with their support, I'd established a preservation trust to maintain the property for future generations. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Can I come over? We need to talk. Of course, I replied. Things had been strained between us since that day. Amanda had moved out 2 weeks after the failed renovation attempt, but not before Michael had discovered the full extent of her manipulations. The misdirected mail had been just the tip of the iceberg. 20 minutes later, Michael's car pulled up. He looked tired but somehow lighter, like he'd shed a weight he'd been carrying for too long. He joined me on the porch swing, the chains creaking familiarly. The divorce papers are final, he said quietly. And you were right about everything. Amanda had been intercepting your mail for months. She even tried to access your research grant accounts. I handed him a cup of coffee from the thermos I brought out. I know, the university's fraud department caught the attempts. I just couldn't prove it was her until now. He took a sip, looking out at Mom's rose garden, now safely preserved under the Historical Society's protection. I was such an idiot, Liv. I let her come between us. I almost let her destroy our family home. You weren't an idiot, I said softly. You were in love. She took advantage of that. Did you know, he said, managing a small smile, that she tried to convince the Historical Society to make an exception for the renovations? Offered them a donation to look the other way. I couldn't help but laugh. Let me guess, Miss Thompson wasn't impressed. Not even slightly. Apparently, she recorded the whole conversation. That's when I knew, really knew, who I'd married. A comfortable silence fell between us, the kind we used to share before Amanda came into our lives. The porch swing swayed gently, its rhythm unchanged since our childhood. I found something in Dad's old study, I said finally, pulling out a worn envelope. I think you should see it. Inside was a letter dated just months before our parents' accident. Dad had written about his decision to get the historical designation, but it wasn't just about preserving the house. My dear children, Michael read aloud, his voice catching. This house isn't just wood and stone. It's every Christmas morning you spent racing down these stairs. It's every scraped knee bandaged in the kitchen. It's every story your mother read in the garden. I'm protecting it not just from change, but from anyone who doesn't understand its true value. It's not about the property, it's about the love built into these walls. Tears rolled down Michael's cheeks as he finished reading. He knew, didn't he? He knew someday someone might try to take it away. Dad always said the best protection isn't a lock, it's making something too precious to destroy. I replied, remembering our father's quiet wisdom. Mrs. Reynolds appeared at the property line, waving. Since the Historical Society took over, she'd become the house's unofficial guardian, keeping an eye on things when I was away for research. The Preservation Committee is coming next week, I told Michael. They want to document the house's history, record the stories of the families who've lived here. I thought maybe you could help. You always remember the dates better than me. He smiled, a real smile this time. Remember when Dad caught us sliding down the banister? Remember when Mom found us camping in the attic during that thunderstorm? The memories flowed between us, healing the rifts that Amanda had created. As the afternoon light turned golden, Michael helped me bring out the old photo albums we'd saved from Amanda's donation plans. I was thinking, he said, flipping through pictures of our childhood. Maybe I could move back to the neighborhood. Mrs. Reynolds mentioned the house next door might be for sale soon. You'd have to promise not to let any future wives try to modernize it, I teased. It's also under historical protection. He laughed, then grew serious. I'm sorry, Liv, for everything. I know, I said simply. Just remember, sometimes the people who try to destroy things end up destroying themselves instead. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Amanda's attempt to buy another historical property had just been blocked. Her reputation with the Historical Society had effectively blacklisted her from any similar purchases in the future. Michael and I spent the rest of the evening on the porch, planning the preservation project, sharing memories, and rebuilding the bond that Amanda had tried so hard to break. The house stood strong around us, its history protected, its future secure. Sometimes I realized the happy endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about protecting what matters most: family, memories, and the quiet wisdom of those who came before us. As the sun set behind our family home, I knew Dad would have been proud. We hadn't just saved a house, we preserved a legacy of love that would last for generations to come.